to another session of Lazy Mathematician Academy, where you will learn to solve all your math problems the easy way. But don't be fooled. It takes a lot of hard work to become a lazy mathematician. Today's session has two objectives. First, I will explain the basic equation for calculating grades with weighted parts. And then I will show you how to use Microsoft Excel to create a spreadsheet that calculates the grades for you. Here you can see the formula that I use to calculate their grades, where quizzes are 30%, tests are 40%, projects 20%, and homework 10% of their total grade, which adds up to 100%. In order to explain the formula, I'm going to start with something that you're probably already familiar with. Let's say on this particular test, out of 60 points, the student earned 48 points. In order to calculate their percent, 48 divided by 60 is 0.8, and then we have to multiply that by 100, and we get 80. The student earned 80% on this test. Now let's say the student took more than one test, which is probably going to be the case. I'm going to use a capital T to represent tests, the total points that the student earned, and divided by all the points that were possible. And then I would multiply that by 100 to get their percent. But the thing is, their tests are only going to count for 40% of their grade. So I'm going to times that by 0.4. A very smart man once said, "Make everything as simple as possible, but not simpler." I'm noticing I have three numbers here that are all multiplied together. I want to simplify the formula. I'm going to take the 100 and multiply it by the 0.4. And nice and convenient, I get 40 because 40% is what they're going to get. Let's just use a capital T then to represent the fraction, and we're going to multiply that by 40. Similarly, on their quizzes, we'll just abbreviate that also. We're going to have 30 times Q plus 20% for their final exam and 10% for their homework. And all of that would equal their grade. You are welcome to go through calculating this by hand. I actually did this for years. For each student, I had to add up all of their total points earned, divide it by the possible, multiply it by 40, and then I would jot that down somewhere. And then I would have to do the same thing, total up all their quiz points and divide it and multiply it and jot that down somewhere and blah-de-da-de-da. And then after I figured out the percentage points for that student, then I would start on the next student. And it was very time-consuming and very error-prone because there are so many steps. You start to get a little bit dizzy. All right, I get it already. I thought you said you were going to make this easier. Enter the Excel Spreadsheet grade calculator. Here's the spreadsheet that I made for my class. So this is the possible points and weights. So the 107 is the possible points, the 30% is the weight. So I put these red, easy to see, percentage weights, and then you would have to go in each time. Unless your classes are all exactly the same, mine never are. The total points for quizzes I had to enter by hand, total points for tests, and so on and so forth. The other light black fields that you see here are also things you need to enter every single time that you do it, because every student is going to have a different number of points. However, the blue fields are calculated by Excel, and so is the green, and I'm going to show you now how to enter those formulas. Let's take a look at the formula for this field right here. Let's take a look at where it stands. It is in column C in row 4. So let's click on this field. And when we look up here at the top, this is how I entered the formula. It says that the contents of this field equal whatever's in B4 divided by whatever's in B2, and we multiply it by C2. So B4 is right here, and that would be Ahmad's total points that he earned on all of his quizzes, and that was going to be divided by B2. B2 is the total points that were possible. So this is the formula we looked at before. Total points earned divided by total points possible. And then it said we multiplied that by whatever was in C2, and that would be the 30%. So that is how Excel is calculating the grade points that Ahmad had earned in the quiz category. And you'll see the next student down, it's taking his score B5 this time. And then if we go over here to tests. We're doing the same formula, only this time we're taking the D4 and the D5. You have to type these formulas in, but you only have to do it one time because you can use the same grade sheet next year. Just change the name and change the numbers. Going over here to this green field, it has things a little bit different. This is the total percent field. Let's go take a look up here at what's been entered into that field. It says that the contents of that field equal whatever's in C4 plus E4 plus G4 plus I4. So again, this would be C4. It's taking his total quiz grade points, adding them to his test grade points, to his projects, to his homework. He came up with 97%. And then I personally went in and assigned the letter grades because I just didn't feel like writing a program to make it do that. That seemed like way more trouble than just looking at it and knowing what grade that is. The 97 is definitely an A+. Actually, there's two things I want to show you. And the first one is, well, let's take these tests. We're saying they're 40% of their grade. And I'm saying that projects are 20%. What if I wanted to even that out and change it to a 30? Now when I hit enter, watch what happens to the scores below here. They all got recalculated. And this one here, the weight, I can change to 30. And watch what happens when I hit enter. There we go. All right, so people's grades are automatically calculated across the board. What if I have more than this number of students? I can copy this row right here and copy, and then I can highlight underneath that, and then I can say paste. I'm going to hit escape to make that thing stop twinkling here. All right, so you see I've duplicated the row, but there's something wrong with the calculated field. Let's find out what's going on in this field. Now this new person, let's just name her new person. New person is in row 12. If I calculate on her quiz calculation, it says it's taking her B12 and dividing it by her B3 and multiplying by C3. What is so terrible about that? Well, look up here. In B3, there is nothing there. And in C3, there's nothing there. It was supposed to say B2 and C2. So what it did is it kind of copied this formula here, this B2 and C2, but because I was copying down one row, it adjusted the calculation down one row. I would have to go up here to the top and change those 3's back to 2's because that's where my data is. And then when I press enter, you can see that it's calculating again correctly. And I was thinking, how could I get around having to retype that? Let's look at Erin's fields again. This is the row that we copied. I'm going to click on this calculation and look at the top. I'm going to change her calculation, and where it says B2 and C2, I'm going to insert a $sign between the B and the 2. Same thing over here. Let's go ahead and highlight, copy, highlight where we want to copy it to, and paste. The field calculated correctly. Let's take a look at the formula that was entered in that field, and there it is. It copied the B $2 and C $2. So of course the thing to do would be, in the first place, I would enter one row and put in the $signs in all of the calculations, and I can copy all the rest.
Thanks for watching and happy grading.